So Phaedra is once again making the press rounds as the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip season 2 comes to an end tomorrow. We are going to get our last little bit of Phaedra Parks for quite some time. That is, unless she joins the cast of the Real Housewives of Dubai. Now, we're going to dive all into that. But listen, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell button so that you guys can be alerted every time a new video drops. Okay. Now, let's dive into everything that Phaedra Parks had to say in this new interview with Bryce Sander for Entertainment Tonight, because it is very juicy and it is like a mystery unraveling with regards to her relationship with Bravo and the fallout from all that happened in season 9 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. So just stay tuned because we're going to really dive into it here. But I want to direct you to Bryce Sanders' post on Instagram first. He says Phaedra Parks has no interest in picking up a peach, but those Real Housewives of Dubai gold coins are looking pretty good. We chat about the possibility of joining the Dubai crew after her guest spot and reintroduction to the Bravo verse with the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. It's already finale week for the Ex-Wives Club. Phaedra reflects on her time at Bluestone Manor, if Dorinda had any reaction to her saying that she was old enough to be Brandy's mom, and what's gone down in the group text since the Jill and Tamara saga. Phaedra also discusses not discussing her Real Housewives of Atlanta exit on the show, and her answer might surprise you. So that's the first thing I want to give you guys. So it's the part about her, A, having no interest in picking up a peach, but also not discussing her Real Housewives of Atlanta exit and why. And then this idea of potentially joining the Real Housewives of Dubai. Now, in order to really dive further into this story, we are going to have to take things over to our friends over at Queens of Bravo. And the reason why we're going to do that is so that I can give you a visual representation of pieces of the article in written form of this interview, right? And so Phaedra, for her part, says, and the headline reads on Queens of Bravo is she's down to join Dubai to a full-time capacity and calls Real Housewives of Atlanta the Titanic again, and says Peacock opted not to air her side of the Kandi story. So that is where things start to go interesting, right? So let's dive into what she had to say about all this, right? So with regards to speaking about her time and her exit on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but in the preview trailer for the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip season 2, there's a point where Phaedra is seen crying and she is saying that we're fighting about stuff that I did. Okay. Now, unless I missed it in the episodes, we did not see that occur in last week's episode, that moment was clearly taken from, or it looks to be taken from. Or maybe it's something that we'll see tomorrow on the next episode tomorrow when it comes out on Peacock. But as per Phaedra, she says this when Vicky asked her about, her exit from the show. Phaedra says she wasn't going to talk about it. But Phaedra actually says this. She says, we actually spoke about it. We actually had spoke about it earlier. And so they chose not to air it. So that's number one. She's saying that Peacock, NBC Universal chose not to air it for whatever reason. Then she says, however, that was, and just to be very honest, that was what now 5.5, 6 years ago. And there's two sides to that story. You only heard one. And obviously, they chose not to play the other side. So clearly, there is, for some reason, this footage of Phaedra talking about that experience is not airing. And we don't know why. And neither does she, allegedly. Okay. She says, and so it is what it is, but I'm living in the present, and I think people realize the people that know. And most of the people knew, and they still know. Well, what did they know? Okay. What did they know? I'm really interested in seeing that. So then Phaedra, the article states here, Phaedra hints her side may never come out, citing possible legal issues. And you can watch the full interview for that by clicking the link in Bryce Sanders' Instagram. It'll take you to the article, it'll take you to the video. Okay. Obviously, I can't play the video on here, but you guys can go watch it for yourselves. Now, this is interesting where it says possible legal issues that could pop up from her story. What are those legal issues? I wonder. This is so fascinating to me because, again, when we saw the reunion for the Real Housewives of Atlanta season 9, it appeared as though Phaedra sat there mute. Okay. She sat there mute, but she does make some good points coming up, and we'll discuss those right now. Okay. So to take it further, it says she does note though that if what she really did was so bad, why would Bravo give her a second chance on air? That's a really good question as well, because Andy has stated that he wants her back. You know, they've obviously brought her back for Girls Trip. They've brought her back on Dubai. They're clearly making space for Phaedra in some capacity. She clearly has some level of impact within the network. So then she goes on to say, I'll say it like this. It is what it is. I mean, people are going to like you and they're going to believe whatever side they want to believe. And I think my record speaks for itself. And not one day is going to obviously be my legacy. And that was some BS, as I said then, and it's still some BS. And obviously, I'm back in the Bravo family. So that speaks volumes, shall we say. I mean, and that's true too. She says, if obviously there was this whole issue with me and they didn't want to be bothered with me, you wouldn't see me popping up at every event because I didn't invite myself, baby. So Phaedra makes some very good points. Clearly, the network is still interested in the Phaedra Parks. All right. Now, let's get into what was said about the potential for her to come back to the Real Housewives of Atlanta, because that was a question that was asked by Bryce, because it had been rumored that she was slated to return. And she says, no, I don't want to pick up a peach. If I wanted a peach, I would have a peach pie, but that's not no. As I've made it very clear, that's not what I want to do. No, I will be yachting. Let them continue to sail away on the Titanic. Okay. And I'm like, ooh, the shade for your former show. I mean, it's still on the network. You know what I'm saying? It's still the network. Um, so there's that bit of information. Now, with regards to whether or not she was invited to and opted out of Sheree's fashion show that's gonna be at the end of the season, um, people were saying that she was a surprise guest, and she says, honey, if I was a ghost. It was me in the spiritual form because I wouldn't dare. Okay. So she's basically, I mean, this woman is like dead set against never returning to the Real Housewives of Atlanta in any capacity. Okay. Now, with regards to whether or not she's running to Kandi, she says that they've been in the same room several times. She says, this is Atlanta. We've been in the same room. Okay. um, it's unclear if they've spoken, but Phaedra only says that they've made eye contact at some point in time. All right. Now, with regards to potentially joining Dubai, um, she does say that she'd be down to join that crew in a full-time capacity. And she is also in the process of buying a home in Dubai, as she mentioned earlier, as she is developing a sea moss vitamin treatment line overseas because CMOS is all the rage. Okay. She says that's a possibility. That's a strong possibility. She says you've got to run with people who are obviously running with the same purpose and destination. If you get out of the miry clay, honey, you got to stay out of the miry clay. Okay. And I'm assuming she's talking about her time on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. So let me know what you guys think about this. I mean, what do you make of this whole thing with her allegedly saying exactly what happened or telling her side and then the network opting not to show it? What do you think the legal ramifications of that could have possibly been? I would be interested in hearing your theories. Would you like to see her on the Real Housewives of Dubai? Do you think that that would make that show pop even more? Also, she did have this to say about Apollo. She shaded the heck out of him. When asked about, him filming a scene with Sheree, Bryce Sander asked her opinion about that, and she was like, "Well, listen, I think it's great as long as he got paid because maybe then he would pay some child support." And I was like, "Now say what now? The man ain't paying no child support? Is that what's going on in the streets?" Okay. Um, Baby, let me tell you something. The interview with Phaedra Parks is lit. Okay. So make sure you guys tap the links in the description down below. Subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell button, and I will catch you in the next video.